them going quicker. You can go ahead and get your stuff started.
Absolutely.
And the next thing I'm going to use, is going to be some fennel. So this is when you're going to start to see the differences. Rob's got bok choy, I've got fennel. All right. Fennel is a bulb. It's kind of grows a little bit like celery does out of the ground, but it's got a really nice licoricey flavor. It's also called anise. So we take the tops off, although this is great stuff to save for a soup stock for another day. And there they are. It's actually a lot of fennel. It's one of my favorites. I braise it a lot of the time with some tomatoes and do a lot of different chicken dishes with it. Super duper yummy. All right. There we go. All right, so where do we go with the fennel? Rob's starting on the bok choy. I think I may actually only use one of these. I'm going to save the other one. We're only doing a small pot. I think I'm used to doing it in a big giant size at the restaurant.
I know this isn't no 45-gallon batch anymore.
No, no. We make it in a big giant stock pot down at Dom's. And I'm going to go ahead and drop my fennel as well, right in the pot. See, my onions are cooking up nice. And then in with the fennel. This stuff's going to cook down really well. There we go. And we're going to keep chopping some vegetables and getting them in the pot. I'm going to use a couple of summer squash, maybe a zucchini. We like a lot of texture, a lot of vegetable in the stew. What are you working on?
I'm cutting some bok choy.
All right.
Which also goes a lot better with the Asian flavors that we're going to be doing in this one.
There you go. You're going to get some stuff in the pot?
Sure am.
Rob's going to the stove.
Going to the stove. All right, and what I like to start mine off with is just a little bit of onion and bok choy, as opposed to Angela using fennel. So we don't want to get that anisey taste into the Thai fish stew. Just going to give that a little stir. Going to throw some salt and pepper in there.
I'm already starting on my summer squash and zucchini. These are an ingredient that we both use in ours, so Rob will use the same things in his as far as this part goes. All right. There we go. I love zucchini, especially this time of the year. It's summer, and this is when all of these things are coming fresh out of the garden. I love to use zucchini in so many different things. I put it in, gosh, we put it in shepherd's pie. I love it scrambled in with my eggs, summer squash and zucchini. And a fun thing that my dad used to do when I was a kid was that he'd slice the zucchini real thin and pan saute it like a potato chip. So it kind of got a little dried out, and top it with some Parmesan cheese. Really great, healthy snack. So I'm going to go head back over and drop the rest of my veg. See how my pot's starting to get a little color on it? Everything's starting to cook, starting to develop some nice flavors. All right, in with my summer squash and zucchini. Beautiful. Looks like a big pot full of goodness right now. That's what I think.
And it smells delicious.
Yeah, it is starting to smell pretty good in here, isn't it?
Sure is.
So what's next going into yours, Rob?
I'm going to chop a little bit of summer squash and zucchini
All right.
Get that going. And then right after that, we should start on the leeks.
All right. I'm going to actually pull some fish.
That sounds great.
All right.
Let's
Well,
get that
you're getting
started.
your summer squash and zucchini in?
Absolutely.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my fish. When we were at the fish market earlier, we got a couple of different things. I got some nice fresh cod to do in the Sicilian version, and I got some striped bass and some scallops for Rob to do in the Thai version. Sound all right?
Sounds fantastic.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get the cod, and I'm going to come right over to here and start cutting cutting the fish so you can see what it looks like. All right. Nice and fresh from the fish market. Those beautiful pieces of cod. There we go. All right. Got a little extra fennel. Get that right out of the way here. Go right back in the basket. We'll use that later on. So like we were talking about earlier, when you're working with your cod or any kind of fish like a cod or a haddock, if you see, you're looking for it to, not if, when you see that it's nice and opaque, doesn't have a lot of white to it, it's not going to be slimy whatsoever. It's got a nice fresh touch and it doesn't have very much smell. If it smells like anything, it should smell maybe a little bit like the ocean, but that's it. And then on this side, this is where you really know you're getting fish that was just cut, is that we've got a little bit of pinkness still left in the fish. That means that this fish was swimming around in the ocean probably this morning. Let's give it a little cut. All we're going to do is look for a nice rough chop on it. We want it to stay pretty chunky because we don't want it to break down into mush in the stew. So we're going to give it a nice 1-inch dice or so, about the same size as the scallops are going to look like that are going into the Thai version. There we go. Maybe almost time for me to deglaze my pan.
It's smelling mighty close.
Mighty close, huh?
It's looking mighty close.
All right, let's get a couple more fillets cut, and then I'll get back over to the stove and deglaze my pan. Oh, there's a fish scale. I guess you'll have that though, right? All right.
You know what I learned just the other day is if you have a horse brush or a very, very coarse brush, after you catch your fish and take it out of the ocean and you have the head off and you gut it, run that really, really fine brush right along the scales and just takes them right off.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're filleting the fish, like we saw the guy do down at the market, he had already scaled it, so it was really easy for him to cut it.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I said is they probably, you know, they're so slippery that that's probably attributed a little bit to the scales.
Yep.
What a cool visit that was. I got to go inside the processing plant at the fish market down there on the waterfront and get to see the inner workings of what really goes on. They were cutting some really cool stuff.
All right,
Hey,
so
while you're over there, while I'm all fished up, will you give me a little stir?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Does it look like it's time for me to deglaze?
You're getting really close, Ange. I'd say probably about another 1 or 2 minutes.
All right.
You should be right there. You're getting a lot of caramelization on the bottom of your pan.
Beautiful. There's a little
I'm
fish
actually
bone.
right there too, so I'm going to have to be deglazing very shortly as well.
Now, we're both using something different to do that as well.
Yep.
You want to tell everybody what you're using?
Yeah, I'm using Kung Fu Girl Riesling, which is very, very dry. It's got a lot of sweet attributes to it, which goes really, really well with the Thai. I'm using a lot of, I've got these chilies here soaking in pineapple juice,
Yep.
which I'm actually going to deglaze with first to get a lot of that heat off of those chilies. So I'm actually going to do that right now.
Okay.
Because my pan is starting to get really, really sticky.
All right. You want me to pull your fish out for you?
That would be great.
All right, let's pull your fish while my hands are still all fishy.
And if you're doing this with these really, really spicy red chilies, you really want to try and avoid getting these into the pot. A couple seeds is okay, just for a little bit of heat. But what you really want to do is just let the acidity from the pineapple juice just leach out the flavor of these red chilies. And then we're just going to discard these because we have no use for them. And we don't want to kill anybody.
No, because those are pretty hot, huh?
They are real hot.
There you go. That's a nice big old pile of scallops there for you, too. Yeah, let me grab that. Yep, you're all right. All right, I'm going to give my hands a little rinse now that I'm done with the fish, and then I'm going to head over to my pot while Rob cleans his fish. How's it looking?
It's looking beautiful.
All right, let's switch spots. You're going to deglaze first. Go ahead, do your thing.
Nope, I'm going to let my pineapple juice just sit and simmer. I've
And-
got just enough time to cut my fish.
Like I said, I got you some, this is a nice piece of striped bass that was like the fish, Georgie, the fish cutter, told me was swimming out in Gloucester Harbor this morning. So that was a beautiful, the fish was giant. You should have seen it. It was really kind of cool. But that's what we've got here. We've got some striped bass, and we've just got some scallops. So go ahead and get your fish cut. I'm going to go ahead and deglaze my pan. Ooh, yeah, I'm getting all kinds of color forming over here. That's beautiful. That's what we're looking for. And what's going to happen when we deglaze the pan is that we're going to pick up all of those yummy little bits on the bottom. And what we're going to use to do that, I'm going to use some sherry to deglaze my pan. And it's just a nice cooking sherry. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it.
Why do you like to use sherry in yours?
I just like the sweetness, the balance of the sweetness. I think because we use a little bit of heavy cream, it's
Yeah.
going to cut the richness of the heavy cream a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, smell that. I'm going to turn my temperature down just a little bit. There we go. I'm actually going to come in there with a touch more because you can't have too much sherry.
Well, it's just like Julia used to say, 1 for the stew and 2 for me.
It's very funny. You can see the difference in the way Rob and I were trained technically. That Rob stew, his pieces are cut very precise and even and neat. And I'm such a rustic Italian cook that everything's just kind of chop and drop. There we go. That is
Alrighty.
beautiful. All right.
Wow, we're both
Go
looking
ahead.
pretty good over here, huh?
I'm going to grab my parsley because that's what I'm doing next. So now
About
that,
ready to deglaze as well.
yeah, that's your fish. I'm going to hand that off to you. Boy, that looks nice. That sea bass is nice and firm and white.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Kind of makes me want to go fishing.
Yeah, right. All the boys like to
Ooh.
go out fishing for striped bass. We make some fun dishes with striped bass
Oh,
down
yeah.
at the restaurant too.
Like striped bass burgers, those are phenomenal.
Yeah, those are always
That's
fun.
always my favorite.
I'm going to use parsley in mine today. What are you using in yours?
I've got a little bit of cilantro, just
Nice.
to add a little bit of that nice citrusy,
Bright.
light, bright aroma to it.
Yeah,
You
beautiful.
really don't need too much. You really only just need, just maybe a half a cup would be perfect.
See, and I love my parsley. Here we go. Okay, I'm just going to give this a nice rough chop.
Ooh, you can really smell that sherry.
Yeah, huh? See, and that's the bright lemoniness from the parsley too.
Yep.
That'll balance out that sherry. I may almost be ready for tomatoes, which is what goes next, is tomatoes. I'm gonna go in with my parsley. Are you doing pea pods today?
I am.
Oops, crunch.
I like to throw those in just a little bit towards the end, so they
Okay.
keep their nice crunch. So when you get a nice soft piece of fish, get that crunch of the snap pea.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna go stir my parsley in. And then I think I'm ready for tomatoes already. This is beautiful.